I mean, we're 3 for 3, Chef.
Peggy is really good about knowing Peggy Stevens on those flavor profiles.
Yeah. Do we really challenge her?
No.
Hello, everyone. Jeff here with A Taste for Whiskey, and I am here with my good friend Chef again, and we are going to be going kind of back to the basics because it's Bourbon Heritage Month.
Yeah, Bourbon Heritage Month. I mean, you look back to the basics and back to where bourbon started.
Absolutely, and if you've been following us, we've been talking a lot about the perfect pair. We've had some great things. Chef has made us some great food. It's been an honor to kind of be sitting here and trying some of his wonderful food and pairing it with some great whiskey. But today we thought we wanted to do something a little bit different, and that is kind of going back to just an experience with a bourbon tasting that we get a lot of questions about. Well, I don't really know much about bourbon, but I kind of want to know about it, and I'm not sure what to do. I'm not exactly sure, not even sure how to drink it. And my good friend Brian, I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy Brian. Derek and I would be sitting here drinking, I think it was a Compass Box one time. And we were, Derek was going, I'm getting some graham cracker. I'm getting a little bit of, I'm getting some pie crust coming through. So our buddy Brian would get over there and he'd take a sniff and he'd take a drink. And he's like, I want to get pie crust. I don't get any graham cracker. And we were like, well, I think a lot of it is really what we can associate our mind with as we're starting to smell a lot of these and starting to pull notes out of these whiskeys. Is that right, Chef?
And that's absolutely right. We each one of us gets something different out of each bourbon, each whiskey. Even in food, we get something different. Someone might have a stronger flavor or might not have as a strong a flavor in the food items. That's the same with the whiskeys and the bourbon as well. We want to shout out and give a good accolade to Peggy Stevens and Susan Reigler in their book, Which Fork Do I Use with My Bourbon? Because we pulled this out of their book, and so this is kind of giving them accolades, and we wanted to try this out and go back to the basics.
Yeah, and really that whole book is about how do you do a tasting? How do you sit down? If you're going to have some people over, how do you simplify it? You really want to sit down and cook an elaborate meal and throw in all these ingredients? You could. But really, to truly kind of experience sort of the predominant notes in some really easy bourbons, great bourbons that you can find every day. And this is what so many people, you get hung up on trying to find so many of the hard to find bourbons, but really you can have a fantastic tasting using bottles that you can always go out and find. And we're not going to talk about the best under 20 and over 20 and under 30 and there's a lot of videos out there that will kind of talk to you about the top 5 bourbons under $20. But what we're here to do is kind of talk to you about these easy to find bourbons and how to pair and we took this right out of the book, so we're really going to kind of experience this and show this as it was meant to be shown, as they talk about it in the book, right?
Absolutely. And this is a perfect pairing with a single food item with the bourbon, even for people that are newer to tasting bourbons and getting into bourbon or whiskey. We're going to show how you nose and how you tell what notes are in that, and also how to taste those flavor components and notes that are in that bourbon, and then go along with the food.
And this is a great way to associate a food with a whiskey, because a lot of times if you've never smelled apricot, and somebody's going, well, I'm getting apricot out of this. Well, of course you're not going to get apricot because you've never smelled apricot nor tasted it.
Right.
So we'll get right into this. We've got some great, Jason put together a great presentation, but we're going to utilize 4 bourbons here. We got Elijah Craig, and then we're going to also go into some Maker's Mark, 4 Roses, just the 4 Roses single barrel. And then finally, we're going to go into the Old Forester, and this is the Old Forester 100 proof. So Chef Jason, somebody's talked about Chef Jeff, and that's in my head now.
Yeah.
But what we have here is our first one's going to be the Elijah Craig. So we're going to do this in a particular order, right?
Yeah, we're going to start off with Elijah Craig and with the tasting notes in there, and Jeff will talk about that, and then we'll go to the Maker's Mark, like you said, the single barrel, Four Roses, and then we'll go to the Old Forester. We're going to go back and talk about in Peggy Stevens' book about the balancing, the flavor explosion, and the counterbalancing. She talks about a lot with when you taste a food item and with the bourbon that you're going to get those notes together. It's amazing how
absolutely.
she talks about all that. And then when we talk about the notes that we smell and taste in the bourbon, then you go to taste the food item. It's amazing. And so we're going to work through this right here and talk about that with you.
And feel free to do this with us. Grab these bottles. These are all easy to come by food components, and it's really going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. So the first one we'll get into is the Elijah Craig. And what the Elijah Craig is, mostly the predominant notes as described is going to be really kind of notes of nuttiness, kind of this caramel note, even described more precisely as pecan. So, and I would 100% agree with that.
I agree too.
One of the first things that I always found my love for Elijah Craig is sort of that nuttiness that you get through and kind of that classic caramel note. So with that, the big thing is how do we create those associations? So I think maybe the first thing is go ahead and nose the pecans. So we've got, what do we have here? These
are just whole pecans, half whole pecans. I've toasted them in the oven. So that way it's drawing the oils out and drawing the more predominant flavor of the pecan, because that's what you're going to get out of the Elijah Craig. So that's why we want a toasted pecan. Yes, not a raw pecan. You want the toasted. And don't get the salted, because you don't want the salt to interact with what we're tasting here. So it's just a toasted pecan.
And according to the book here, we're going to create a balance. So the predominant note's pecan. So we're going to taste this with a pecan, which is going to really, the idea here is creating more of a food balance.
A balance.
Food and bourbon balance.
Which means the bourbon has the same flavor profiles and notes as the pecans. We want to nose the pecans first. Yeah. You get the nuttiness and the toastiness of it.
The toastiness, So then we go into the, it really, it just amps it up, It really kind of, you can now smell those in the whiskey here.
The nuttiness and the pecan, you can really see the nuttiness and pecan, the caramel.
The caramel really comes through. It's almost like a caramel-coated pecan. It's kind of what I get on the nose. So a lot of people say, well, how do you approach that? So a lot of times what I do when I try to pick out noses to kind of get less of the alcohol, I like to coat the side of the glass a little bit and then kind of bring it down, kind of swirl it around a little bit, and just, kind of nose the glass itself. So sort of where you've kind of left that film there,
Now, Jeff, I've heard, is it best to have your mouth open when you breathe in? I've heard things about that. What's good?
Yes, a lot of people will say if you open up your mouth and breathe in, it will kind of help take down that alcohol. For me, it doesn't work that way. I don't really get that as much. So for me, I like to just, I'll smell with my mouth closed, and sometimes I'll open my mouth. But either way, I just pick up those flavors.
And when you go to nose this, I could pick up something different than Jeff's picking up.
Absolutely.
But, and then you talk about it, it does come to mind. So
it's just creating that association.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's try the pecan. So a lot of times what you do is go ahead and eat it, and then kind of just wash it down with the bourbon.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. That toastiness is great, Chef. So now we'll go ahead and wash it down. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
The nuttiness balances out so well.
Yeah, the nuttiness really comes through on that. Incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. Wow. So here's the thing. This next one with Maker's Mark, for me, the predominant note has always been kind of vanilla. Maker's Mark is a front palate finish. But in the book, I was really surprised that, they kind of comment on the predominant flavors for Maker's being more citrus and honey. So I thought that was really cool. So this is something that even is going to be new to me, because for me, the predominant note's vanilla. So this one, we're going to create another balance,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna balance out the citrus and honey in the Maker's Mark as described, in the book, with an orange.
Yeah, an orange slice.
So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, the acid in the orange, and then the Maker's, it's unbelievable. We both didn't really think about how this would work, but absolutely, when I nose this, now I do get the honey. For some reason, that you said vanilla, but to me it switches over to that honey because of the sweetness.
The sweetness, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and try. So we're going to create a balance with this orange. So again, kind of nose the orange.
Just get that little citrus flavor.
A little citrus and a little sweet. So this is a good sweet orange. And now going into the Maker's.
Yeah.
Son of a gun! The citrus note pops.
Pops with, and you do get a little bit of honey.
This is what I think is so cool about this, folks, that you can really, the flavor profiles can change just based on the pairing as well.
Absolutely. And the more you nose it, I think your mind and your brain kind of, you smell it, it can change over a few minutes.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and try the orange.
Try it.
Wow.
Wow. It balances out so well.
So the vanilla is almost hidden now.
Yeah.
Really, what this pulls out is I get more of the honey now. You're right.
Right.
So the vanilla goes away, but it's not as sweet. With Maker's being a front palate finish, you really want to experience it on the front, you get none of the alcohol comes through.
Mm-mm.
It's really all honey with that. The daggone notes of citrus is really kind of popping in the back.
Well, and the acid cuts it all. It cuts it all, and you get the flavor balance there, and it just balances right out. And that it stays on the front of your palate for the longest time.
I'll tell you, Chef, I've would have never said citrus in a Maker's Mark.
I know.
And so they're nailing it.
Yes,
That's what I love about just instead of doing our own thing, let's read the book and let's just go right to it.
Yeah.
So that's going to bring the next one, which is another one that I don't know if I would agree with. Originally, and that is Four Roses. It's described as the predominant flavors being chocolate, dark chocolate, and gingerbread.
Yes.
And so for this, we're going to create more of a flavor explosion using the dark chocolate. So explain flavor explosion.
So flavor explosion is where the notes of the bourbon or the whiskey and the food item, once you taste that food item, you get that whiskey enhances and just causes that full explosion in your mouth of the full flavor. It's not balancing out and it's not opposite flavors, but it's intensifying in your mouth. And we experienced this with the truffles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. So if we take the 100 proof, so it's going to be a little higher proof, single barrel Four Roses. And what I typically get is I'll go with the gingerbread.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of get the gingerbread notes out of that, but I've never really gotten chocolate. So let's kind of see where that's going to go. So really get that bitterness of the dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, yeah.
Yep. And
to me, what comes to my mind, and I'm going to bring this up, Woodford Reserve always comes to my mind with dark chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
But this kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but I can get a little bit of those notes.
Yeah. So now for me right now with the dark chocolate, I'm getting more of a vanilla note on this. Mm-hmm. So the explosion is maybe it's gonna pop that chocolate out.
Well, and it's dark chocolate, so the bitterness is going to make that pop. So
all right. So let's try it. Man, that's just good by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very nice. Mm.
It intensifies that chocolate like nothing.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It really pulls out. Oh, my goodness.
That's a dessert.
Yeah. So the 100 proof is gone. Like, you don't even really notice the higher proof in this. And, the vanilla it's almost like it turns it kind of into a milk chocolate.
It does.
And so the chocolate becomes the predominant note in
The
this.
bitterness kind of goes away, but the chocolate predominance explodes in your mouth. And this would be an awesome like dessert beverage with a chocolate mousse or something, a dark chocolate mousse at the end of dinner or something like that. Yeah. Man.
Bam. Again, I mean, we're 3 for 3, Chef.
Peggy is really good about knowing Peggy Stevens on those flavor profiles.
Yeah. Do we really challenge her?
No.
All right. So we're getting a little long, and we thank you for sticking with us on this. But this is just really exciting, and I hope you're having fun with us as we do this, because one of the thing I've been waiting for the most is this, what we call counterbalance, which is the hardest thing to try to accomplish. We've done it in one of our videos, and it was really difficult. And so just go straight to the expert, Peggy No.
Yes.
And doing this Old Forester 100 proof, the predominant flavor is going to be kind of this caramel, vanilla, and what I totally agree with is oak.
Oak.
Lot of oak in Old Forester. So for counterbalance, they're going with a Parmesan slice. So this one, you're going to have to help me out on this one, Chef.
Well, when you think about that sweetness of that caramel and the vanilla, and you get that oakiness in that Old Forester, it's opposite of the Parmesan. Parmesan's got that nice richness. It's got that sharpness. That it's a dry aged cheese that's been dry aged for a while, and by being dry aged and sitting, it is intensifies in flavor. So they're opposite flavors. And what counterbalance means is you have opposite flavors to start with, but when you eat and then drink together, they balance each other out.
Man, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, this is like our dessert.
This is like because I love cheese, but to try the counterbalance is the one that's just most fascinating to me because of how it just sort of reacts on the palate.
Absolutely.
So, we'll nose this first.
Yeah. And you get the nuttiness of the cheese,
the
sharpness,
the sharpness.
To me, Parmesan has that nuttiness, and once you taste it, it's going to be very sharp.
So I would have drink it. Parmesan with bourbon would have never crossed my mind.
I know.
So let's see.
Yeah, you get the caramel and the vanilla notes.
Yeah.
And that oak.
So that there's no balance. There's no explosion. It's really very opposite. So one doesn't overpower the other. So I still get the caramel, the vanilla, the oakiness here, and I get the sharpness here.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Well, let's see where this is going to go.
And the longer you let the cheese sit, the oils come out, intensifies that flavor.
Well, that's great.
It's very sharp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I don't even know what to say on that.
I don't either. It brings the sharpness down to the cheese and it intensifies the flavor of the bourbon a little bit, and it balances each other out.
Yeah, it's like eating a meal in your mouth.
Absolutely.
Nothing overpowers the other.
No.
The Parmesan works so well with the Old Forester. And again, we talk about the proof point. The proof isn't even a discussion point.
No, not at all.
The flavors just the counterbalance. And again, it's the most confusing one to me, but yet the most interesting. And this works so well.
Well, and I would say, for the new people that are getting into bourbon, and if you're going to a party or something and you want to take something, all these items are usually on a charcuterie board. Charcuterie boards are huge right now at parties and different gatherings and things. The nuts, the meats, the cheeses, the fruits, chocolates. Take one of these components and take one of these bourbons and tell people about it. And, that way you can learn more and help people learn more as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, Chef, first of all, thank you again for creating another great combination here. And we always love to say thanks to Peggy No and Susan Reigler for their great insight with the book. And that's taught us a lot.
Yes.
And we're continuing to learn and continuing to grow. And for you folks, again, this is such an easy way to sit down with a bunch of friends and take some everyday bourbons that are fantastic bourbons,
Awesome. Yeah.
and create this great experience and try different things that you can find. So folks, we just thank you for joining us, and we're going to have many more to come. Cheers.